Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is John Fedro. Thanks for being on the show, John.
Thank you so much for having me, Whitney. Really glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you. You are an expert in a niche that seems to be growing really fast right now. And so I know there's listeners who have lots of questions for you, and I'm going to try to get some of those out of you. But so I'm looking forward to this. But a little about John. He's been investing since 2002. He started in real estate accidentally with a 4-bedroom mobile home inside of a pre-existing mobile home park. Over the next 11 months, he added 10 more mobile homes to his cash flowing portfolio, which seems pretty impressive. And now he spends his time actively investing in individual mobile homes and acquiring parks to hold long term. He focuses on enjoying his time and partnering with other investors around the country to grow their own local mobile home cash flowing portfolios and reputations. So, John, thank you again for your time. Maybe tell the listeners a little more about yourself and where you're located, and let's jump in.
Of course. Thank you for everyone listening. And Whitney, thank you for having me. Currently located in Austin, Texas, properties around the country. And I started investing in Florida. Plenty of mobile homes in Florida, plenty of mobile homes in Texas. Maybe that's why I stumbled upon mobile homes in the first place, because they're everywhere in Florida. But I sort of failed into it. I didn't want mobile homes in the first place. I didn't know about mobile homes in the first place. Wanted to focus on traditional real estate. You know, that's what a real estate investor does after all. And then my first deal was a mobile home in a park. I won't go into that. I mean, I can, but I was so embarrassed. Like after I did it, I was making money. It was cash flowing me, but I was still so embarrassed just to tell anybody what I did. It took me months to actually go to my first real estate event. Well, I was going to events and meetings, but I was stood up eventually and I said, I'm a mobile home investor. And then all the other investors are like, oh, that's awesome. I don't want those. You can have my leads. Like, please do something with them. So I was so nervous and embarrassed because I didn't want to call myself a mobile home investor. And because that's not real
Just because
estate.
it has a stigma or
Totally.
what?
The stigma, they cost so cheap. It's not real estate. It's personal property, all of that stuff. And just even, the whole trailer trash stigma. Oh, you must be a slumlord if you're dealing with that, or just people's, ignorant mindsets that, they make funny or make a joke. And it's just, but once I realized, I told people, it was like, oh, I don't care what people say. They're happy to give me their leads, and I'm busier than all these other people out here.
I was going to say, you're the one collecting the cash flow here, so they better be quiet.
Exactly. I go to the same meetings and I know you people don't do anything, because it's like, it was a real eye opener.
Wow. Okay. So you finally were bold, just stood up and let everybody have it. And it turned out to be a good thing, because now they were handing you their leads.
Correct. Yes. And that's 18 years later, it's not that different. Sometimes some people might say, oh, like if they're a traditional single family home investor, they might say they want a mobile home on a piece of land that, it comes with the land underneath it. But they still don't want anything to do most of the time with the mobile home inside of a park. So it's just been even 18 years later, it's still, that whole stigma is there.
Well, I know we're going to get into a little bit of this, but before I get too far, you mentioned that a mobile home park is personal property. Could you elaborate on that?
Oh, well, the mobile home inside of the park.
Yeah, mobile home itself. You're right. Go ahead.
Is considered personal property, except for in a few states, New Hampshire, Rhode Island. These states, it's actual real property, and you need a deed to transfer it from one buyer to the next, or one owner to the next owner. But in most states around the country, it's similar, not the same, but it's similar to a car. There's a title, and you don't go through a traditional closing company or escrow office or closing attorney. So they're personal property. Some say they depreciate, others say they don't depreciate, but it's not real property. It is, when a mobile home is inside of a park, most of the time it is personal property, just like a car. or a boat.
Interesting. I don't know if anybody's talked about that on the show, so I think it's a great point to bring up, because that would be very important to know, right? I'm sure that, I mean, it's going to have a lot of tax implications as well
Oh,
that you may be expecting or that you shouldn't expect.
taxes, lending, the perception, appreciation, just all of that. The fact that it's personal property. And another reason why I was just so embarrassed, like, oh, this is, it's not real estate. It's personal property back in the day, but who cares? It makes money and people want it and it's in demand. And so
It's cash flowing. Yeah. And
yes.
it's still a residence. I mean, people still have to have a place to live. And yeah, so awesome. So, buying when would I think about buying just a home, the mobile home versus buying a park? I was thinking about, like, you got started by buying a home, and I haven't really thought about that. Well, maybe I could just buy mobile homes and then cash flow as opposed to buying a park, or somebody's thinking about getting started that way before they're able to, say, syndicate a large park or something like that. But what are some things to think through there?
There's some folks, I think the folks listening already have it in their mind based on their risk tolerance, based on what they've maybe already accomplished, based on their goals, based on maybe who they know or the capital that they might have access to. I feel like the people listening, they have an understanding of, okay, I want to start with mobile homes and then, that's just a stepping stone to the parks, or no, I'm ready to get a park, because there's plenty of people that just buy their first mobile home park without ever buying an individual home. And then there's a number of people I work with that have bought mobile homes for the specific reason of, I want more capital, I want more insights, I want more education, then I will buy my first park. But you technically obviously don't need to buy mobile homes before you buy the park. So I remember this happened maybe 2 or 3 years after I got started investing in individual mobile homes. And I had my blinders on and I'm just doing what I'm doing. I'm buying homes, I'm selling homes, I'm selling them payments, I'm selling some for cash, just the mobile homes, sometimes on little pieces of land, but never the park. I was approached within a year from 2 different park owners, this lovely 2 different couples, older people, older folks at the time. And they said, John, we know what you're doing. You're inside of our community. You pay us thousands of dollars every single month with, lot rent. You've paid us on time. We like you. We want to give you the opportunity to buy these parks it was only one, each couple had 1 park, but they were big parks. Like, one was over 100, one was under 100. And they said, John, we will owner finance these to you at the time, because I was only so young. I didn't have that kind of money. And so I just had my blinders on. And I was happy doing what I was doing. No management. I'm making money. Life is good. And I said, nope, I'm okay. I'm happy with what I'm doing. There's too much management involved with parks. There's too much managing. There's too much daily to-dos. I'm happy with what I'm doing. And I'm kicking myself because I was scared at the time. I didn't know what I didn't know. I thought they were way more management intensive than they were. And they're not management intensive. That's why you have a manager. So I probably waited like 15 or 10 years too late to buy my first park. But I guess all of that to say, you don't need to buy an individual mobile home if you feel like you're ready to get a park. But if you are going to get a park, make sure you're educated, no matter what you're buying. I don't know if that specifically helped, Whitney, but I hope that.
Yes, it does. Because I haven't thought about just looking for a mobile home to purchase and rent out, as opposed to buying a park. That was my mindset around it. Well, if I'm going to buy, I was thinking about, okay, if I was going to get into mobile home parks, which it's not my focus currently at the moment, because I'm not educated about it like I would need to be. But I wasn't even thinking about, well, maybe I could find a mobile home to rent out, kind of like a single family house or something. I had the mindset of, well, I have to buy a park.
Some folks that I work with, we stumble onto parks just because of what we do as investors. We're meeting the managers, and some of those managers are also the owners of the parks. So sometimes as a mobile home investor, you're just naturally bumping into owners and you're naturally saying, well, hey, what's going on? Are you selling any homes? Is the park for sale? And sometimes we people that I'm working with that intend to just buy the homes, we end up buying a park sooner than we think. And then other people I work with that buy just the individual homes, it sometimes takes people, I notice, around between 25 and 30-ish, maybe 30-ish, 35 homes. before people understand, they say, okay, I have enough homes. I have enough mobile homes. I'm ready to go to the next thing. So for a lot of folks I work with, it's almost like it's kind of 2.0, or they get some homes in parks, then they get some homes on land, and then they're ready to graduate up and up. And then they get their first park. It might be a small park or, 30, 50 spaces or less.
Okay.
And that's been interesting to see.
You had mentioned, how important educating yourself is first. Where do I start with educating myself about mobile home parks?
There's so many great podcasts out there. I think, to mention something that's free and with some good content, nowadays there's really good high quality podcasts, not so much videos, YouTube wise, but podcasts. There's a lot of good ones out there. And I would recommend that people do some searches on podcasts, because that's free and you can honestly get a lot of good information.
Are there mentors out there for mobile home park purchasing, kind of like there are in the apartment business?
There absolutely are. I mean, I've been doing individual mobile homes for the past 18 years. There's people that have been buying parks for as long as I've been buying the homes. And those folks are now teaching people how to do the same thing. I would recommend, though, for anyone listening, if you're going to get educated, go with somebody that you can call on the phone, or that will help you with the deal, to look over your deals, to look over the numbers. Don't just get a book or something. Get somebody that you can actually call and ask a lot of questions to, because there's so many moving pieces when it comes to buying the park or the home itself, but more so the park.
So, maybe you could walk us through a few crucial steps in like buying our first park or home.
Oh my goodness.
And I guess think about, buying a park. And as far as the listeners here, we're thinking about syndicating, and so therefore they're ready to raise some capital and potentially buy a park. And so let's focus on buying that first park.
Mm-hmm. Much like I think the individual mobile homes, we want to take a massive approach, make a lot of offers, and then ultimately just move forward with one home at a time, or one park at a time. Usually, I'm trying to target parks that have not been bought by an investor, and that has been fixed up, and now it's being sold for the top dollar. I want to get a park where it still needs a lot of work being done to it. So normally and that's something I think people have to understand. Do they want to buy a park that's turnkey and they don't have to do anything? Or do they want to buy a park that needs a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of work, and it's not hardly making anything? And that's an important question to ask. And then from there, you can understand, well, who am I marketing to? Is it more of a turnkey kind of operator, or is it more of a mom and pop that's built the park, they're getting older, or for some reason there was a death or the park's been going downhill? And then once you understand who you want to, what kind of parks that you want to get, then in my opinion, it's a massive approach. I mean, you're doing everything from talking to brokers every day, letting them know who you are, getting on different people's email lists, to calling up different parks for sale around the country to get practice, to advertising and marketing directly with different mail campaigns, different phone campaigns, having different virtual assistants, cold calling people and skip tracing people to call and to get on the phone. It's that, and it's also the stuff online. I've purchased parks from mom and pops, and I've purchased a park from the internet sales. And if it's something online, if you're just expecting to find a park online, Craigslist, Facebook, MH Village, LoopNet, the other ones, you're going to have to move like that. If it's a really hot deal, you better have that money that where it's coming from, or you can write a contract really fast. Because if it is something that's online, and if it's a good deal, if it's a park online and it's a good deal, it's going to be snatched up super fast. So I don't know, again, if that sort of answered the question. There's so much we can talk about.
Yeah, for sure. That's good stuff. And I was thinking about, finding comparable properties, or when I'm going through that process, and I'm even trying to find, okay, what's the cash flow going to be? What's the income going to be? Because like I said, I'm no mobile home park expert, but I was thinking about, a lot of times they're kind of placed in areas that they're not all right together. Right? Or are they? I don't know. So I was thinking about, how do I know, okay, what my income's going to be?
Once you get the park under contract, and you don't know that until you have boots on the ground, until you're looking around. I mean, anything could be made up or presented to you, or any pro forma that the realtor or that the owners could give to you about these are some pie in the sky numbers for the future. You have to make sure that those numbers are accurate. So it's not so much about the comparables, although those are important. This is a finite. There's only so many mobile home parks in any one given area. There's only so many mobile homes in one given area. And there's only so many houses and apartments in any one given area. I think that's pretty obvious to say. And there's only so much population in that one area. So I say that because if for some reason the town is like on this mass exodus and people are leaving the town in droves, that's probably even with the best deal of a mobile home park, that might not be somewhere that you would want to invest. But assuming normally that the town is steady or it's growing and it's a decently populated area, and that's another thing, what's the local population? But as far as finding comparables, you want to know what the park is making, and we do want to know what parks are, what the lot rent is nearby. That's what parks charge, monthly lot rent. So what's the lot rent that the park is currently charging? And then what are lot rents down the road, or 5 miles down the road, or 10 miles, or 2 miles? We want to get a clear understanding of, are these parks comparable? Are they a 5-star park or 1-star park? What are they charging? What are we charging? How many lots are there? But ultimately, I'm not going to pay on what the park could make. I'm going to pay on what the park is making today. That's what I want to know. That's what I'm going to base my purchase price on, is how much is the park making right now.
Yeah. And how would we know like how to calculate that value? I mean, I know we're not talking about multifamily or apartment building size. We're in like a mobile home park. How are we going to calculate what we're going to pay?
Oh, so until you actually get it under contract and you do all of your due diligence and you know where the expenses are going and where the income is coming, a quick rule of thumb, and I'm not the one to create this, but a quick rule of thumb is that you take the amount of spaces that are currently occupied in the mobile home park that are actually paying you rent. So let's say there's 10 spaces in the park, all paying $200 a month. Let me bring up a calculator. Well, we would want to do $200 times those 10 spaces times 70 if it's on city and water utilities, city water and city sewer utilities. We're going to times it by 70. So it's going to be 10 lots times $200 a month times 70. And that gets to around the purchase price you want to pay for that park. Now, let's assume that park has not city utilities, but private utilities, a well and a septic tank. We're going to multiply the 10 lots that are making money. There might be 20 spaces there, but only 10 making us money, times the 200 lot rent, times 60. So 60 if it's private water and private septic. And then we're going to multiply
that 60 and 70. Is there somewhere that comes from, or is that just kind of known in the mobile home park space?
No, those are arbitrary numbers from enough experience, but that still only gives you the ballpark. I mean, if somebody's asking $1 million for their park and you come up with this quick calculation of 1.5, well, then they're under what you figure. So let's proceed to talk with them.
Look deeper, yeah.
Right. Or if it's $1 million and you get to $1 million, that's good. Or even if they're just asking a little bit more, it's just a really quick calculation. It's just enough to say, okay, am I going to spend more time looking at this park or not? That's that quick little formula.
Yeah, you had mentioned, I mean, because I'd want to know kind of what I'm going to offer, or you'd have to know something before you had it under contract, right? And so, is that all right? Or is it?
It's important to know that. And it's important to know what also comes with it. How many mobile homes convey with the property? Are there any apartment buildings or sheds or a big work area, or what kind of farm equipment comes with it, or any vacant land? So all of that ties into it. These mobile home parks are really unique. It's not just dirt and some homes. It's all these other weird structures usually, and vacant land that you may or may not be able to build on. But you can certainly get it under contract and then do more due diligence and decide to, negotiate or back out.
Yeah. Anything else you mentioned, like being able to move fast if it's like online? Yeah, and that makes complete sense because obviously everybody, a lot of other people are looking at it too, right? So anything else that we would need to know to be able to move fast like that on a park outside of being, having those quick numbers that we can do.
I'm trying to think of when I first started making offers on parks, I was pretty non-educated. And so I'm thinking, so I was pretty non-educated because I didn't really have the money lined up. I didn't have contracts. I didn't have the knowledge really. And I'm thinking, so to answer your question, it was be the money lined up, or at least sort of know who you're going to ask, but the contract would be helpful as well. You don't necessarily need a realtor because you could, use that other person's realtor if you wanted to, depending on who you were going through. But I'd say a contract, having that money lined up, a basic understanding, people that you can ask questions to once you get this under contract. Because once you do, I mean, you have 30 or 60 or 90 days to close, but even usually 30 days before your good faith money is gone. So in my opinion, the bare minimum is have an understanding of what you're looking for, have the contract, have capital set aside. But even the capital, you don't necessarily need it, but you have to just move quickly. Be ready to move quickly when something pops up online. Make the call, make the offer, get it under contract.
And you had mentioned, parks that have like a 1 star or 5 stars. Is that some kind of rating online? Where would we see that?
No, and it's really arbitrary. There's some books that it's actually referenced from the RVs back, I think from the 50s or 40s. It's actually a reference to RV parks, and it was never meant to be with mobile home parks, but we've sort of adopted it for 1 star, 5 star, but it's really just completely arbitrary. Imagine a 1 star park being really dilapidated. Not dangerous, but just dilapidated. Any park can be dangerous, but really dilapidated. 5 star, maybe gated. There's amenities there. The roads are wider. Everything's clean.
So it's similar to, calling multifamily like class A, B, C. Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
So John, what's been the hardest part of this, mobile home purchasing or park purchasing journey for you?
Oh, good question. The park journey. So yeah, we'll stick to the mobile home park stuff because mobile homes would be kind of a different hardest thing. For the mobile home parks, I would say maybe once I convinced myself that I could do them. Remember, 14, 15 years ago or longer than that, I was presented with those opportunities and I just didn't think I could do it. So once I got over the mind hurdle of the fact I can actually do it, I thought raising capital was a big deal, but it's not. When I started talking to people and I, stood up in front of different real estate groups, the money is out there. That's so cliche, but the money's out there. The education's out there if you want it as well. People are willing to partner with you, maybe the wrong people, so you might not want to partner, obviously, with everybody. I would say though, dealing with, and this is something completely not even about buying the parks, but I'd say maybe dealing with the residents. I like to be friendly sometimes, and I think I'm too friendly. I don't make a good park manager, so I'm too friendly with people. And so I've found it difficult to deal with some tenants sometimes because I want to be friendly with them. And you can't. I mean, you have to be, it's the park's way or the highway. We have rules. Because some people, if you give them an inch, then they just take a mile. So that's my answer is actually dealing with the people. Not that they're tough to deal with, but just I'm not a good, I need a manager, and I have managers now that are really, they're tough but fair. And they're by the book, and they're way better managers than me. So I'll say managing the park day to day.
Okay. And so, how are you prepared or preparing for this potential downturn that everyone's talking about?
Yeah, they are talking about that. So I can say I'm doing the same stuff. I'm just as cautious and frugal, and I only buy the mobile homes and the mobile home parks and the mobile homes on land when it really fits my criteria. And the reason I say that is I'm not doing anything different because, excuse me, with this last downturn back in 08, 09, 10, I didn't know that was coming. I was pretty ignorant and just, yeah, the market's never going down, only up, only up, up, up. And realized that, oh, markets can take a downturn. So I luckily was positioned with mobile homes that are affordable housing, that I didn't notice any glitches. I didn't notice any downturns. The only thing I noticed was some of my tenant buyers that are paying me every month. Most of what I do in parks, I sell on payments. And I noticed that the people that were contractors or home builders, they lost their jobs because that's who was losing their jobs back then: home builders, contractors, handy people. And those people, they had trouble paying me. And so they left. But I was still filling up my places. I mean, people were going through foreclosures and bankruptcies, and I was putting them right into my places. They were jaded on owning single family homes, and they look around these mobile homes. John, I can buy this for $30 or $40 a square foot. I can pay you off in less than 10 years. Yeah, yes, let's do this. So I didn't really notice a big downturn like a lot of other folks did. So I'm not really doing much different to prepare besides just full steam ahead in parks, on land, inside of the parks, the entire parks themselves. So yeah, I don't know again what this will take. The future, I don't have a crystal ball, but this last huge downturn, things were really good. I still bought homes. There were still sellers that needed to sell. There's definitely buyers that want to buy these affordable properties. So I didn't, luckily I don't know if it's recession proof, but it's definitely well insulated.
So what's a way that you've recently improved your business that we could apply to ours?
Oh, this year is the year of outsourcing. I'm going to be outsourcing a lot more because my social life has suffered. My mental well-being has suffered. I'm just doing so much on my own. So outsourcing is going to be a big thing that I'm working on for this year. I obviously have outsourced my park management duties. Whenever I do buy a park, though, I go to that park and I stay there for 1 month or 3 months at a time. I realize that I can't do that always. But again, once I operate the park, once I get it the way I want, or it's running better, then I get a manager involved and work with them. And
That's commitment right there.
That's something. Yeah. It's
So, so I wanted to ask you though, as far as passive investors that are listening and they're looking to invest with an operator who's buying, syndicating mobile home parks, what's some questions that they should be asking? Give us 2 or 3. They're like, you got to ask the operator this before you invest with them in this mobile home park.
I think experience and track record go a long way. How long the money is going to be held up, and also just if you have never invested in a park, some of the people that just have capital out there that they're lending money, these people are experts in their own field. They're doctors, lawyers, whoever, but they're not mobile home investors. They're not mobile home park investors. And it's so easy there's so many people out there that want to over promise and under deliver to you. And maybe that's just human nature, but there's so many people that will do that. I can fill up this park in a year. We have 30 empty spaces and I can fill them all up in a year. And it's like, okay, well, give me a track record of you doing that. Why do you say you can do that? And if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So do your research on the people that you're dealing with. Also know the area as well. There should be a good population. If there's not a good population of people, over 50,000, over 30,000, things are going to be slow to grow. So a track record is huge. The experience in this business is huge. There's going to be so many other things that come up and that people aren't expecting, because that's what real estate does. There's things that pop up, but we have to deal with it. We have to be ready. So that long-term track record and somebody that has experience buying and holding parks and selling them, that's huge. When are you getting your money back? The plan for the park. But that track record is just huge because there's so many people. Whitney, you said it in the very beginning of this call that you can't go to like a day or 2 or 3 without hearing about mobile home park stuff, or more interest about mobile home parks. So there's a lot of newer investors getting into this space. Make sure, if you're going to lend money with them, make sure that they know what they're doing, or they have experience, or they're working with somebody that has a lot of experience.
I meant to ask you also, you said this year is it going back to the previous question. And I agree with the experience track record with the for the passive investors, but for you outsourcing this year, how do you plan to do that? Through virtual assistants or hiring people internally?
No, almost all virtual assistants. Virtual assistants, everything from collecting data on markets to doing skip tracing activities to calling people on my behalf, possibly somebody local to just do some hands-on stuff. But I mean like local just for office stuff, but no, everything virtual.
Okay. And what's the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
Ooh, persistence, persistence.
And then how
Nothing.
do you like to give back?
The way that I give back now, ooh, that's such a broad question. The way that I give back now is by, I think with all the experience that I have, I know that I can only help so many people, and people only need so much help. Like a lot of people that I talk to, they don't need the help of an investor, or I give back by not trying to sell stuff to people, like a property, an investment opportunity. I just want to give people my honest feedback of what they can do to the park. Like if I'm talking to a seller, I'll give them 2 or 3 opportunities or 2 or 3 suggestions that don't help me. I'll say, listen, if I was talking to a friend, I think you should do this and this and this, and you'll probably get a higher price. Or, and that it's sort of, it's a little bit selfish as well, because I find that the more giving I am, the more people give back. So it's almost a little selfish when I'm actually transparent and I help people and I don't try to sell, and I'm really, I answer people's questions honestly and let them know how difficult things will be or why you're on an uphill battle about selling your park or buying something. It's just such a it's weird. It's such a refreshing thing to people that, I don't know, I give back by being honest, which I guess is not really giving back. It's what you should do. But I find like I give a lot of value to people by just being honest and letting them know my experience, which isn't something everyone can do. They have to be in this business for a long time. But for me, it's going over and above when I deal with people to really give them more than what they were asking for.
I like that, John. Thank you for giving back in that way. And I appreciate you sharing your expertise today about mobile home parks, and because it's not something I'm familiar with at all, really. So, but it is gaining more traction, no doubt about it. But tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you in case they have a question about mobile home parks.
Sure. There's a lot more info at mobilehomeinvesting.net. And my email is john, at mobilehomeinvesting.net. A lot of free info there. Learn a lot of stuff, ask some questions. You can always reach out to me as well.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.